Good morning. Welcome to this edition of the Coal Scene. I'm Chris Hamilton with the West Virginia Coal Association, and I'll be your host for today's program. I'm joined in the studio here today with Senate President Jeff Kessler, who represents the 2nd Senatorial District from the northern part of the state, and Senator Art Kirkendall from the state's 7th Senatorial District, primarily centered in the county of Logan, but also extends into Boone, Madison, and picks up a little bit of Lincoln. Gentlemen, thanks so much for taking time to join us here on the set today.
Happy to be here.
Thanks for the invitation, Chris.
Both of these gentlemen are personal friends and are also just extreme friends of coal and energy in the state of West Virginia. Mr. President, it's probably appropriate to start with you. We're about 2/3 of the way through the annual legislative session. We just hit spring this week, and it might be a good place just to talk a little bit about the session. I know education reform's been front and center, but a lot of other things have been going on. So
there have been, and to the Senate's credit, we've already passed now 2 of the governor's major initiatives. Obviously, the number one was education, to do some education reform to make sure that the kids that we're putting out through our education system are equipped with the appropriate tools and their knowledge so that they can find work in the workplace, and we're working very hard on that. Also, the prison overcrowding bill passed just yesterday in the Senate, was sent over. The one bill, education, passed 34-0, and the other, prison reform, 33-0. And we would have probably had 34, but one of our senators, Senator Blair, had some health issues that took him out of the Capitol yesterday. But in any event, I'm real proud of the fact that we've been united in as a Senate, both Democrats and Republicans, and have gotten in 2 major bills 67-0. That's remarkable in my view. It's a credit to my members.
what is a credit? It's a credit to the Senate leadership team that you've put together, and also being around the Capitol, spending a lot of time here myself. I know that the buzz in the hallways has been to your credit, that the transition from Senate President Tomlin to Senate President Kessler has been relatively seamless, and a lot of that good positive momentum is continuing today.
Well, it
so
is.
Congratulations on that.
I appreciate that. The governor and I remain very good friends, and committed to doing the same, in most respects, the common ideas and goals of moving West Virginia forward. So we've got a good team, and working very, very well with the House as well. I'm expecting good things to happen this session.
Just seems like a lot of cooperation upstairs, and I think everybody values that and almost expects it, but it's so different than what we see going on in Washington, for instance.
Well, I tell folks that for a bill to become law, it takes 3 things. It's got to pass the Senate, it's got to pass the House, it's got to be signed by the governor. So it's not a bad idea to get all of us pulling in the same direction if we really want to get something done.
Makes perfect sense. Given some thought before today's show, aside from both you and Senator Kirkendall coming from major coal producing regions within the state, the other thing that I noted that you have in common is that you both succeeded current Governor Tomlin in his Senate capacities.
We got a lot in common then, don't we?
You as Senate President, and Senator Kirkendall obviously succeeded Senator Tomlin as the senator from Logan.
You've done your research, I'll tell you what.
Just a little bit, but Art, it's your 2nd year, and if you ask most of the people up around the hallways, they think of you as a seasoned veteran, and you're vice chair of one of the more important committees on coal and energy, the Senate Energy, Industry, and Mining Committee, and we appreciate your leadership and your team role in the state Senate so far. So tell us a little bit about that experience.
I guess the experience factor is, I give credit to the President. I was appointed by Governor Tomlin out of his unexpired term, and I walked into a situation where I had to cast a vote for leadership to take West Virginia forward, and walked in November of 2011 and 12, and then finished out the year 2012 for the unexpired term, and the voters of the 7th District give me an overwhelming win, and but I think a lot of it that the people back home seen that I could be a person that could be heard to represent them, and I think that message was sent by President Kessler and the rest of my colleagues in the Senate. I was well accepted when I first got there, and I told them I was the kind of guy that would work for all of West Virginia, and truthfully, the first year that I was there, most of the things I did were impacted for the northern part, but it's West Virginia as we know it. The OPED liability was, of course, statewide, but the Marcellus Shale legislation and some of the other things, and trying to land a cracker plant would have been advantageous to the north, but anytime it's advantageous to West Virginia, we got to look at it as a whole. These men that I work with, and under the leadership of President Kessler, it's well noted in the Senate that if it's good for any part of the state and it's a good bill, you'll get full cooperation from the Senate. And I think that's what sets the tone for the future for West Virginia. Under his leadership, we've passed some of the most impactful legislation that has transformed West Virginia to where we can compete, not only as an energy producing county and state and region, but his vision for education, job production, retention, economic development. I think as a senator, I've bought into it, and the other guys, colleagues of mine have too. And it's a friendship mode over there to where we trust each other, at least to have a dialogue, which enables us to come up with a qualified piece of legislation once we all look at it. And we'll have our disagreements, but they're friendly enough and effective enough at the end of the day that we come up with good ideas. Yeah. But thanks to him, I think he was very instrumental in me running so well for re-election by him giving me an opportunity to be Vice Chairman of Energy and Mining, and also he put me on the Southern States Energy Board, one of the 19 states that supply energy for America, which gives West Virginia our chance to explain why coal is so important to the nation. And then he also gave me vice chairmanship this time of roads and infrastructure, and a chairmanship which allows me to be part of the leadership with interstate cooperation. So I was hoping that I would show him as the leader and his leadership team that I could be a kind of guy that could be well working as far as what they're doing, and he showed me the courtesy of saying, I think you did, and I need you on the team, so I appreciate it.
Yeah. Well, like I said, in part maybe because you've been so involved in state politics and you've been so involved in the coal industry in your previous life as a county commissioner for 20 some years. 30 years. Yeah. So that's 20 some, but 20 plus. Yeah. But it truly seems like you've been here for a long time in the state Senate. It seems to be very fitting.
Well, Senator Kirkendall hit the ground running. It did not take him long to find his way around the Capitol and to find out, throw himself into issues, and you know, just an incredible work ethic and solid senator, and you know that's and he became chair. I put him as chair as interstate cooperation, recognizing that there's so much interaction, particularly between West Virginia, Kentucky, Indiana, some of our surrounding states, particularly as it addresses the coal and energy issues. That gives us an opportunity to maybe form some real support. Within the region, not only just within our state, but within our region, to try to address some of the federal issues that are problematic. So, I think you'll see some real activity there that had not occurred in the past as well, and some of the cooperative efforts between the states, and I'm sure that'll happen.
Well, we observed, over at our office, the appointment of Senator Kirkendall to head up the Southern States Energy Board role exemplified your commitment to the industry and making sure we had just a good solid input and voice in that regional program. And it also ties in with resolutions that you championed a couple years ago for the state Senate to take a lead role in establishing that multi-state coalition, and that's up and running, and we've seen some good positive things come from that over the course of the last couple of years as we've been engaged in this battle with national EPA and some of those issues.
Right. So we've done some good things. The best is yet to come.
Well, and it seems like the Senate in particular, but the legislature overall, it just seems like everyone's adopted that mantra, West Virginia first. And you mentioned roads and transportation and education. All that ties together with having a strong industrial base, and for training our workers of the future, and making sure we have good access. It just seems like it all all ties together in a master plan.
Yeah, and that's sort of what the education bill is trying to do. Is that, you know, in the past there's been sort of a disconnect between the jobs that are out there and the education that we're providing. So in this instance, we're trying to make it a more seamless transition to give those kids in middle school that are very, you know, maybe not going to go on to college, but have good, you know, skills and working with their hands and in the trades, and can get into learn those skills and trades and move right into opportunities and jobs in the energy sector. And you know, as well with the not only the middle schools, the high schools, and then into the community and technical colleges. Sometimes kids can pick up just a certificate or certification or associates in 2 years and don't need to go on to a 4-year degree in order to fill the employment needs of the energy sectors and other employment opportunities we have in the state. So you know, that's what we're trying to do: make it seamless, get kids educated, and get them right into the workforce.
And you know, consistent with that, I'm seeing and hearing from more and more kids who prefer a 2-year, you know, certificate or degree, go into a well-paying, you know, where there's career opportunities, a well-paying job with a high-growth industry, you know, like coal or oil and gas and some of the others that we see. You know, with an eye towards maybe going back to school or continuing education, you know, through their 20s and 30s, and you know, once they figure out what they really want to accomplish educational-wise, you know, maybe returning it at a later time.
Well, I think one area that we can expand on, and I think we're on the right track, and I think the President's made a huge commitment on working on drug problems in all of West Virginia. But coming from the southern coal fields, in Logan, we took an antiquated building and worked with the city and the college and some other people. We had the #1 mine training academy, not only in West Virginia, in America. Not only do we train miners for surface and underground mining, we train copper miners and other areas of the country that mine silver, copper, and all that. They come to Logan for the training. And I don't know how many untold thousands we've trained, which people come in, and that's part of your development and money in your area, and people staying there and this and that. But to quicken my comments, I think that we could take some of the legislative ideas that President Kester's trying to work on the drug problem that we have, about how do we take our young, brightest kids and get them to want to be drug-free. We can put every program we want to together, but we've got to give them the idea that I want to remain drug-free, have a quality education, a quality job. And I think how we do that is in vocational. We got to expand it. Now, my son teaches electricity, and I've been a proponent of vocational, because 30% of the jobs in America, probably in the next decade and a half, will be in that type field: welding, electricity, plumbing, maintenance. So I think what we have to do is get our school principals, which is part of the educational problem, to fix, I'm talking about, and bring these leaders of, say, Rich Equipment, Walker, and all these people to come into seminars and talk to these young men when they're a sophomore in high school. You can go to the vocational. We can have training seminars. We've got a place that you can run simulators. We can have you ready to go to work for Alpha or Arch or Cliffs or somebody like that for a $100,000 plus job. But here's the requirements: you need to remain drug-free and have an idea. If you don't want to go to a 4-year college or something like that, and you want to be in a vocational complex, we can actually set up programs on some of the, and I've always said, take a parcel of post-mine land, let them bring equipment down and have on the site training for these kids in the 10th, 11th, 12th grade of vocational, to where they're ready to go to work when they're 19 years old. And companies are getting young people that's probably less dependent on medical care and coverage, would be cost saving to them. They would be able to work 6-7 days a week because they're young and aggressive and ready to go. They're ready to start their life and have a family, and they'd be huge earnings for them. So I think that we can take education, some of the programs that President Kester's put into effect about drug reduction and work availability and everything, and I think we can move West Virginia forward in a lot of ways. But it's like a puzzle. You got to take each piece and put it together. But under his leadership, I think we're going to make some huge strides.
I've been to the school you referenced, the technical school,
Yes.
Southern Community College in Logan. They've been doing for a decade now just an outstanding job with developing new miners for the future, experienced miners. Like you said, there's experienced miners developing expertise in mine rescue and general mine management, and they have a real strong safety element to that for all those capacities. Mr. President, you mentioned that Senator Kirkendall kind of hit the ground running.
He sure
Take
did.
you back a few years when you were first appointed to the state senate. I know at that time it was a major controversial issue, surface mining or
Right.
mountaintop mining, that you were part of a task force and got to tour a number of sites around the state, and all that ultimately, if I remember correctly, resulted in some reforms, some new requirements and rules. But one of the centerpieces of the legislative effort a decade ago was the creation of the Coalfield Development Office, which today coordinates all these post-mine land developments.
And that creates huge opportunities, for not only southern West Virginia particularly, but in other areas of the state. You know as well as I do, a lot of I think Mountaineer Fields in some of the places down in the northern part of the state have been
Cabela's.
Cabela's
is
former
post-mine land up there.
They're all places that were formerly used for mining activity that now post-mining are still contributing in a significant way to the citizens and to the economic engine of the state. Okay. So it's been huge, and I know that there's some areas of southern West Virginia particularly that we need to address, and because they've been so valuable in providing so much employment opportunities in the past, but as the seams have gotten a little thinner down there, and some of the challenges they have, we need to, quite frankly, continue to give them the support they need to make sure that southern West Virginia can continue to prosper as well.
I was talking to Jeff Hareholt, and he pointed out the new high school down Mingo that went on post-mine land site, and there's several regional jails. There's a new landing strip to be an airport in Mingo, but he reported over 13,000 jobs statewide that are being sustained on these post-mine land sites today, recreational, commercial facilities.
Those are huge opportunities. And
Chris, I'd like to expand that just a little bit, and by having a man like President Kessler who understands this, serving on some of the local development programs back home, and most certainly being a member here as a senator. In my county alone, in the connector county of Mingo County, we have a wood products plant, we have a regional jail, we have an industrial park, we have an airport, we have a golf course, we have a shopping mall. And the beauty of that, and I've been challenged a few times on using, leaving properties flat instead of going back to AOC. But here's the situation in southern West Virginia. We're on 45-degree slopes or something close to proximity to that. The people, most of them live beside of tributaries and creeks and rivers, and we have very, very limited flat parcels. I have also been an advocate, and I hope we can take this to the next level. It makes all the sense in the world. I've done the data, the research on it, is take post-mine land and put communities up there. And the reason I'm saying that, in your permit process, you have power, water, and sewage to these tracts of land. Under the original plan of going back to AOC, you tear all that out. It's a waste of money. You put it in, you tear it out, you stack it back to AOC original contour. In the permit process, work with these master land usage programs, why would you not take people out of repetitive flood areas where insurance companies are paying premium after premium after premium? We're using state workers, county workers to clean up these floods because of being in the floodplains. They're going to flood if you have any type rain of any abnormalcy. Why would we not put these people? It'd be almost like a gated community. They're ready to go in. It would be less challenging to put the community together because you got such a fixture out of the way, the cost of the infrastructure. So I think if we're going to be smart, not only can we take the advantage of post-mine land for commercial, industrial, and job expansion, but we can take care of a lot of our community
residential,
needs.
Add
Absolutely.
residential to the list.
And I know in talking to President Kessler, he has a vision for supporting that. I know that. And I think if we just take these projects, we're not going to fix everything overnight, but we most certainly can keep going till we finally have something of quality substance.
Makes all the sense in the world.
Exactly right. The senator's exactly right. That's what we need to do, and that's that direction we've been going in for some time, and we're going to continue down that path.
That was the vision. Yeah, again, that
that's
was
the
a
path.
centerpiece of that legislation to come
Absolutely.
out of all that, and it's a good thing.
Sure.
And everybody embraces it, and the office serves as the quarterback, getting the land company, the
Right.
mining company, the county commission together with,
It's
with
a
an eye
cooperative effort,
towards-
but you can do some wonderful things with that property.
The other thing, while we're talking about that, I'd be remiss if I didn't mention that former general, now retired General Tackett, Alan Tackett, and his successor, Hoyer, General Hoyer, they've been very ambitious of putting a Fort West Virginia on a number of these reclaimed mine sites. There's drop zones. There's on the ground obstacle courses where they're training our young military from all over the country on the rough terrain of southern West Virginia, operating these the MVs and the MRAP vehicles. And
Since you mentioned that, Chris, I know at our airport, in the close proximity to some of the properties over there toward the Sharpless area, I think at this point, I think they've got a zone over there that they're using for a drop zone.
they are.
And the reason they're doing that is it almost parallels with some of the properties in Afghanistan, some of these places, when they're trying to drop equipment, supplies, materials, and everything, and train these soldiers how to do that. So it just gives them a leg up when they go to some of these other areas of the world that were have some combative issues, and these people are ready to deploy their troops, are ready to do that because they have these kind of like a simulated challenge, and they can do it in our area and prepares them for around the world. So the property has so many values, and we know we can build schools there, we can build rec centers there, we can build commercial value properties there, but residential is something that's kind of passionate with me because I have worked so hard on a mitigation project in the county. We moved 20-some people out of a repetitive flood area in one place of our county, and we run the numbers about 5 times it would have flooded, and these people were already gone. And the dollar value is so much savings for not only the federal and the state and everybody in tow, but we'll get there. We just got to work at it.
And we're not even talking active operations here. We're
No.
not talking about the actual value of
This is after
the
the
jobs
fact.
and taxes of the mining of the reserve. This is all sustaining, that economic stream, if you will, long after, the mining is gone. And that's innovative. That's innovative, and that's real development.
Well, again, everybody tries to make money, and if a company has the ability to leave property flat once they extract the coal, naturally they're able to spend more money for supplies and workers and everything else. AOC is a costly endeavor, and reclamation is not cheap.
That's right.
But the more that you can leave it for on grade and everything ready to go, and infrastructure already there, it makes all the sense in the world.
The other thing, and I've just internalized as we were talking briefly earlier, of how much both senatorial districts combine in terms of overall coal production in the state. I think, and without running the numbers more accurately, I think that between your 2 districts, the 2nd senatorial district and 7th, you have to account for upwards of 50% of all the coal that's mined here in West Virginia.
Well, I know in West Virginia, Marshall County particularly, McElroy's got the largest deep mine in the country, and I think it's the largest obviously then in the state, and I think the 3rd largest producing mine is the Shoemaker mine. So I think we've got two of the top 3,
and your region extends over picks up Morgantown and
over in Monongalia and Marion County,
Marion
and the
County.
operations we have over there too. So when you start adding those up, between Marshall, Marion, and Mon County, we've got a significant amount of the coal production being produced in the northern part of the state, or in my district.
Add Marcellus gas production, Marshall County is probably looking pretty good right now.
Well, I tell you, my brother happens to be the assessor, and he tells me that the property valuations in Marshall County alone within the last 5 years have doubled, and that's probably artificially low because those assessments usually run about 18 months behind, and it's gone from about 1.5 billion to almost 3. I would not be surprised if in real actual value on the ground today it's not 6, and I expect it to double and maybe triple again. We've got a huge opportunity up there with our energy sector, and I think the gas can complement the coal because the base load power needs of this nation are still dependent on coal fire.
They are. You know, our industry's shrinking just a little bit. We've lost about 20% of our coal production here over the last 5 years. You know, we're in a national recession. We've had a lot of pushback out of Washington, EPA, but weather patterns have influenced that. We may not return to those 160, 170 million tons of annual production, but we will maintain a very strong 125, 130 million ton industry.
I think with this export demand that you're going to be looking at, together with as we come through out of this recession and you see manufacturing pick up, I think I remain optimistic and hopeful that, you know, coal is still going to have a solid future in West Virginia.
Well, you know, our friends in the oil and gas business may challenge this, but as gas prices, you know, they're predicted to creep upwards here, and as they do, coal will most likely regain some of that market it lost to gas over the last couple of years.
We're never where we want to be as far as taking care of our people, but the only thing I'd like to see changed, and hopefully we can with just a lot of hard work and dedication. Our exportation, as the President mentioned, it's going to be there. It's solid, and the tonnage there to ship overseas. I would like to see us increase our domestic usage. I think that West Virginia, probably, you know, for what we produce, we're only the nation will only use like half of what we produce domestically, and we ship it. I'd like to see us use our own needs and then ship some additional tonnage. But you know, the formula that we have right now, I'm pretty confident in saying that our utility bills are the best in the world per usage. I'd like to see them a little better, and I most certainly don't want them to keep going up. But we're all working for a common goal, and that's to give the people of this country and state and everything the best product we can. And we're blessed, you know, to have the energy supplies we do. And we're talking about the counties, you know. The county I live in and Boone County is two of the bigger producers. Of course, he has big mines and employs and runs big tonnage, and we need more mines to compete, but that's fine. That's just the type of mining they do.
It shows the diversity of our industry in the state.
Yes.
Absolutely
But we've got almost 6 billion tons of coal reserves in Boone and Logan County, so you do the math. We probably mined close to 40 million between us last year. So we could be there a long time.
We have more coal reserves remaining under these hills
That's what's been mined.
than what Saudi Arabia has